Hey everyone, it's Vuk from Dnevnik Vina. Welcome to the Wine Sessions podcast. This is episode number 2, and today with me is a guest who I admire for her energy. At least what I was able to see on Instagram. It's like a cool mix, a duo mix from being a sommelier from Vancouver and also a creative graphic artist. I think it's Alex Anderson on Instagram, known as Wine with Alex. Alex, good to finally have you on my podcast.
Thank you so much, Vukashin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. Can you give us your origin story? Like, who is Alex? How do you describe yourself?
Yeah, totally. So I'm Alex Anderson, and I am a local Vancouverite in British Columbia, Canada. I am a sommelier at one of the restaurants here, and I also do a lot of freelance work through my Wine with Alex name, and that's mainly media, graphic design, and communication for the wine industry here.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Sounds awesome. I mean, sounds awesome. I was blown away by because it's a really cool thing because wine gets you enough room to be creative, and being a creative, it gets even more awesome, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really picked a cool niche to work through because it's a small industry in a sense, but it also is huge. I mean, it's $1 billion industry. So I feel like choosing wine as a niche just has opened up quite a platform for different creative endeavors and marketing endeavors. And then, of course, the actual restaurant and working as a sommelier. And the people of the industry are just brilliant. They're beautiful people. And I feel really lucky to be able to tap in and from such dynamic angles. So it's a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like I read there was a picture on Facebook. It was wine is a social lubricant, and basically it's a biz dev tool, but a biz dev tool in the best way possible, because you sit and share it with people, and a lot of good things can come out of that.
Yeah, you know what, that's actually something I say. The conversations that we have over wine are never the same kind of conversations we have over tea. Like, tea just doesn't bring a certain
Yeah.
that really connects you, right? The
Yeah.
best conversations we've had, they've been over wine. They have not been over tea. So I think that wine holds a special place in my heart for that, because that's something that really connects humans together, builds relationships, and it's really a special part of culture.
Yeah, 100%. That's I'm a young wine enthusiast. I'm recently got involved, and that's the best thing. I think it's even higher for me than a good wine. It's a good wine with someone, and yeah,
100%. Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
totally agree. Drinking
yeah,
a good wine on your own is not the same as when you share it with somebody else. So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
totally agree.
yeah. So how did you get involved with wine? Do you remember your first wine, or how did you decide I'm gonna go into wine?
Yeah, you know what? It was kind of a long time coming in a sense, but when I was a teenager and underage, we've got pretty strict rules here for drinking underage, and I was going to a private school that wouldn't tolerate it even if it was on the weekends, but I somehow managed to still find myself in some funny situations that my parents may not be proud of. And I found that I tasted a Mosel Riesling and realized that, wow, this is delicious, and it's way better than what my friends are drinking at the party, which was cheap vodka and diluted orange juice. And I soon figured out that I had a friend that was older than me and would purchase Riesling for me, so I started drinking Riesling at our high school house parties. And that's when I fell in love with wine. But of course, that was a sweeter, cheaper version that I drink now, but it was still just delicious. That's
Yeah.
when I knew that wine was something I really cared about. And then I actually pursued interior design. So wine wasn't even on my radar, really. I was working in a restaurant to pay for my interior design courses, and it was during my restaurant times as a server that I realized that if I could learn how to sell 2 glasses of wine instead of 2 sleeves of beer, that I usually walked home with a little bit more cash, because the glasses of wine costed more, and to percentage-wise, I would make a little bit more money. So I had to figure out how I could sell the wine instead of the beer, which meant I needed to research and know my product if I was going to sell it. And it was amidst learning more about the wines that I was selling that I really started to find it interesting and fell in love with it myself. So I was almost selling it to myself, which was really cool. That was basically when I started to realized that this is something I was interested in. But that was about it. It was just a hobby. And design and interior design was my passion and going to be my career. And wine was just kind of something that I was really interested in on the side.
Y-
But
Yeah.
then,
Y-
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like it's like all good things start that way. Like and for me and my friend who are doing this kind of Dnevnik wine diary in international terms, like the entry level wines and the experience is key because you're getting into it. Your first wines, you don't want to miss a couple of initial steps. And even better is even if like you document it, because for us youngsters, wine sounds like a complex thing. Like there's glasses, there's red, there's white, there's all kinds of types, there's all kind of grapes, all kind of countries, and entry level experience is key. So that's why I'm asking you, because it's like it's everything to me right now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's important to recognize that wine is extremely complex and always changing, but it doesn't have to be. Like, it can still stay that way, but it's just as happy for you and enjoy it as a simple beverage also. So I think when we're trying to over intellectualize it, like that really can kill it for a large
Exactly. Yeah.
population.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be that way. Like, leave the intellectual to the sommeliers or the winemakers, and they can share it with those who are interested. But I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to drink something delicious, and
Yeah.
whether that means that your chemical compounds incorporated into that is not needed, right? So
Yeah, cool. You gotta do you. You gotta do you. You have to always be you. And if you sit down and be honest and don't try to pretend or be intimidated, like I've sat in a room with people who are way, way, way more experienced than me with wines, but you stay you. If you only want to say, hell, man, I like this wine. It's cool. That's enough. If you're honest and you ended up with a smile, everybody's gonna appreciate that, right?
yeah, you're so right. 100% agree. And even when it comes to choosing wines for the wine list, right? Like, it can be from the coolest place and from the most weird and wacky production methods, but if it doesn't taste good, we're not going to buy it and we're not going to sell it to our guests. So at the end of the day, it's all about what do we like and what do our guests like, and that is a simple answer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Like, I mean, for me, honestly, like I've drank, I've tasted wines really from Europe. I would say one from Australia, but I'm really intrigued, like in your wine culture across the ocean, especially Canada. I mean, for starters, there's like a lot of people from my end of the world who like moved to your country and live there. So about Canada, we all know that it's like an awesome country. Well, where like economy and rules and everything is so perfect, at least to us. So I'm kind of thinking wine culture must be also awesome there, because if people are clever and share that thing over a glass of wine, that sounds sounds really cool. So as a certified like sommelier and the person who like lives wines there, can you like share what's like the state of wine in Canada? Like how do you guys enjoy wine? What do you guys drink? Like
Totally. Yeah, I'd love to speak to that. So, first of all, like, Canada is very diverse. I mean, it's a huge, huge country, and we're kind of sitting on the northern limit edge of where wines are produced. So, a lot of our regions, both on the west and east coast, are like breaking the 50th parallel, which is suggested as the northern limit for wine production. So lots of people would consider that, oh, we must be a very cold region for growing grapes. And even people put us in a box of, we only produce ice wine, which is just not the case. It's not the case at all. We actually have some very, very hot pockets in an area called the Okanagan Valley, which is in the southern interior province of British Columbia.
okay.
And there, I mean, we get over 2,000 hours of sunlight in a year annually. Because we have that northern limit, we're getting that much more sunlight in the growing season. It also gets really, really hot there, so we're able to grow some of those like fleshier, full-bodied red wines. Now, on the other side, on the East Coast, even up in a province called Nova Scotia, they're making some really great, delicious, sparkling wines. And there it does stay a little bit cooler throughout the growing season, so the grapes are ripening to ideal levels of acidity for sparkling wines. So it really is diverse. Like, we have a lot of different styles that we're producing. I think that a lot of countries and regions, they tend to gravitate towards one particular varietal, and they just want to make that their flagship, and maybe that is the best one that they can make. And I think that there's as much as we're a very multicultural country, our grapes kind of reflect the same mosaic. We
Awesome.
have a lot of different soil types all throughout British Columbia because of different things that happened millions of years ago on a geological level. There's just soil deposits throughout the whole province that are vast and diverse and really cater to different grapes. So our styles are endless. We're not just producing one kind of wine. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, what are some like famous Canadian wines, like, or you can share like your top list, or but like Canadian wines that sell well and that people enjoy, and really like how do people, like there's like that thing that in France people drink and enjoy wine in one way. In Spain it's a little bit different. It's all like part of the culture. So like, what are some typical wine choices people make, and how do they like consume them, like over lunch, over dinner, over like some social liaison, or
Yeah, I think that most people are drinking them with dinner, and gravitation seems to be more on the red side. I would say that like the wine culture in Canada is not nearly as old as it is in some of the European countries. So
okay.
people are developing the culture as we go. But that being said, like new wineries are constantly popping up. It's a new industry. Like we're talking in the last 100 years is when things has really started, which means that we're learning and growing at a very fast pace. We have so many references from the European countries that have been doing this for centuries and their winemakers are coming here. So we're able to grow quickly, but it means that the options are just constantly growing and changing, and it's quite exciting. There's, like I said, there's a lot of differences throughout the Okanagan and throughout Vancouver Island and Ontario, things like that. So it really depends what you're looking for, but I've got a few different producers that I like creating different styles.
Yeah. I gotcha. Like, and what about like young people? Because like it's different thing. Millennials with all these tech savvy skills we're putting in like in the picture, and I would say it's a different way we consume products with wine as well, and having beer and all those kinds of drinks as a competition. Like, how do people, young people, millennials precisely, enjoy wine in your country? Like, do they drink wine, and is there any difference? Do you see like any patterns in how do people who are a generation up, how they differ from them? And our young customers, like, I've heard that in US, like almost like half of wine consumption are millennials.
Yeah, and those numbers are quite parallel to what we're seeing in Canada. It's really cool with the millennial demographic, which I fall into the category of also, because you can't bullshit them.
Yeah,
if you tell them something, they can look it up really quick,
yeah,
and they will either call you out or just roll their eyes and know that they can't trust you. So there's no bullshit. Like, you can't just make up some folky story and say that they're going to believe it. You actually have to know your stuff. So these are smart buyers, and they're interested in wine, and they're actually willing to spend more money per bottle
exactly.
than some of the other generations. So that's exciting because it gives more of a platform to make quality wine, to speak only about quality wine, and to have less of a blind marketing campaign that's just going to lead people astray. I will mention though also, like, millennials here we're big beer drinkers. Myself, not as much, to be honest, but there's a lot of movement in craft beer. There's so much to choose from. One thing I'm excited about though is actually cider. We have great orchards here to make cider, and for someone who can't always afford the wines that I like to drink the most, cider is my next best bet. And you only have to commit to a can or a bottle. You don't have to commit to 750 milliliters. So I feel like sometimes it's a healthier choice for my lifestyle. But yeah, it's really cool. People are interested. People want to know more, and I think that's all that any winery and sommelier could ask from their guests, is that they're actually interested and willing to spend money on quality.
Yeah, cool. And what about, because like there's a huge difference in how do people, especially like the supply side, how they use social media and all these channels they have at their disposal. Like, how do like winemakers and I would say like wine influencers overall communicate with youngsters? Is it like all social media? Is there any platform you prefer, or is there something like a special a specific winemaker that blew your mind, how how they handle communication, and like is the story happening online, or is like a mixture online offline with millennials?
I think the story's happening online. I think that people are finding someone that they trust, and then they are either reaching out for suggestions or just following exactly what they're doing. I know for myself, when I'm traveling around or anything, I'm always reaching out to my friends. I don't really care what an ad like that comes up on some random website says about a new winery. I'm going to ask my friend, a sommelier friend or a friend that lives in the area, hey, what do you think of this winery? Or I'll watch their Instagram feed and see if they've been there, that kind of thing. So I think that the marketing is much more of a network based strategy if you want to find success. And I think that's great because I think that, again, it's just making things a little bit more authentic. And I can't imagine a better platform.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like a marketeer myself in terms of like what I do when I'm not in my wine suit, and it's like the thing I see many wineries, at least from here, like dude, they're all talking about like themselves. I mean, there are cool pictures of them in their wineries and cellars and all kinds of stuff, but it all sounds pretty same, and especially the wine shops who are only doing these kind of promotions. And I see like less and less, like for us, at least for me, and I think for 99% of millennials, and correct me if I'm wrong, for you too, like it's all about the experience. You said it, like you're gonna ask your friend. So I'm kind of thinking like if a winemaker, especially from here where social media is still not as hot in wine, at least to my opinion, if you take networking apart, so we're talking about one-on-one marketing, it would sound awesome if some winemaker can share an amazing story or an experience, a short video about people enjoying their wines, but not selling them, more like talking about them. I never seen that. Is that like, does that thing happen in your country?
Yeah, I can't speak like specifically to that. I don't think that there are necessarily marketing campaigns where winemakers from one winery are promoting drinking lots of different wines from the area. But at the same time, I know that the culture here is rather team based. So I think that there is definitely a spirit of that, but I don't think something like that has necessarily been published. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes because like you know what, the reason why I'm asking you is like I left a comment. I was looking to buy some Merlot, a local Merlot from southern Serbia, which I didn't have a chance to taste before, and I left a comment like somewhere on Instagram, I think on my account, to be honest. And I left a comment, and there was someone paying attention, a little like wine bar and shop that was close to my flat, and they sent me a message. They left a comment like, yo, hey guys, like if you wanna come to our place, we serve this wine in a glass, and we'll be really happy to like make this like wine tasting special for you. And we came, and it was awesome, and yeah, and
So that's awesome. That's so great. That's so personal, right?
yeah, it's so personal, and they spent some like attention to give us some attention, and we talked about it, and we talked about some other merlots, and we talked all kinds of stuff. And they were thinking like, the girl that left that comment said to me like, Vuk, like we don't do marketing that much, like, and we saw that like you are in that world, like what would you recommend for us to do? And I was like, you already know what to do. You did it to me. Like I'm gonna speak about this. Like I'm speaking to you about this, and it's such an awesome move. And it takes 20 seconds to do that, right?
Yeah, but it takes intention and it takes heart, and I just that would win me as a guest for life. You know, it's so personal. You feel like you're part of their family. What was the restaurant called?
It's like a Serbian house of wines. It's like Srpska kuća Vina, which is essentially a Serbian wine house. They have two bars in Belgrade, and also a shop, and they're really really kind. And it's like their deck, especially now when the summer is coming and we're in t-shirts. It's an awesome place to work. Like you open your laptop, you order some wine, and you shoot the hell out of your campaigns.
So, yeah, I'm a sucker for like a good heart, and that's what it sounds like they've got. So that's awesome to hear about. I'd love to see more of that kind of direct marketing, and not to people that just have followers so that they have a secondary agenda. It's really nice when there's just an authentic
A
appreciation for
hundred percent, like a
Canadian
hundred percent,
winemakers.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
and they didn't even I came to pay, and they said, no, 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 this is on us. We invited you, and I felt so guilty that I needed to buy wine, and I was looking for some white, and then they recommended an Italian, and
Oh, yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, you didn't spend a single dime on that move on Instagram, totally free. You said it yourself. Like, you gotta put some heart in it and do something without the expectation of getting something in return,
Yeah.
and at the end they earned some money, which is not like the main thing here, but they did that as well, because now I'm really happy and I came out with a smile, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And yeah, and
And like,
youngsters can learn to drink wine that way.
yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a community beverage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and speaking of wine, like, what is your current wine obsession? Like, wine to die for? It doesn't have to be one, it can be as
Yeah.
many as like.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm currently obsessed with just keeping up on the trends that are local here. Like I said before, we're growing a lot in British Columbia, so it's tough and it's a full-time endeavor to just keep up on new winemakers and the new procedures that people are using and the new wineries that are popping up. And I don't want to miss out on good ones that are new, just because their name isn't known yet. So sometimes that means really having to dig deep to get to these small producers. But it's important to me to get to know their portfolio so I can serve my guests better and make sure that everyone else is staying current on my team as well, and that I'm watching and a part of the growth in British Columbia, because it's not going to take long. If your favorite producers last year are probably like could not be your favorite producers this year, because there's just more that's coming up and coming out, and that's really exciting. So that's something that I'm really having to keep on top of. But honestly, I'm usually quite partial to really lean, crisp, like fresh white wines. That's what I like to drink after work. I mean, my palate needs some revival after a lineup of like flushy red wines, you know. So, but I do know that that's not always how my guest mindset. Like I said, most of my guests are more interested in red wines. But yeah, that's currently what I lean towards.
Yeah, I'm also like a white guy, and like I would never say no to a Sauvignon Blanc. That's quickly becoming my number one choice, even
Yeah.
above Pinot Grigio. But in the red wine, I mean, it can be like an influence of couple of wines I've tasted recently, but Barolo is killing me. Like,
Oh,
it's not exactly as Cabernet, because sometimes it can be a little bit strong, at least to my taste. And Barolo, even Amarone from Italy, I'm like, it's a shame I wasn't born as an
yeah.
Italian. I must say that.
I
Uh,
know, right?
yeah. But Barolo and Amarone with Sauvignon as a break, which is like with white wines. That's like a
Yeah.
trio I would buy without any hesitation.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Barolo as well. And I mean, the Nebbiolo grape I just find so pretty, but it's so powerful. It's just ideal. So yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah, cool. And speaking like of Italy, like, do you have how's your like European wine choices? Like, any favorites? And specific question, like, have you ever tried the wine from Serbia?
Yeah, Serbia, I have not seen a whole lot on the market here, but I'm very intrigued to say the least. I'm sure a couple of my friends have had the option while geeking out over it, and I don't know how they would have got their hands on the Serbian wine, but I definitely don't see a whole lot of it. But what are your favorites? What do you find Serbia is doing the best of right now?
Well, like, there's like a lot of more famous wine types, and they're like the less famous ones, which are really small and like kept in a family. I'm still like discovering them. There's like a two famous ones, which is Prokupac, which is like a famous red wine. People usually do mixtures because of the coloring and the taste, but there are a couple of winemakers that try to produce 100% Prokupac, which is essentially like a cool fruity red wine. I would say medium bodied. Like, it's not as strong, but it's really powerful in red fruit for me. uh
Oh,
yeah, and on the white side you have what is called like tamjanika, which is essentially like a really zesty, refreshing, lemonish kind of vibe white wine.
Tamjanika? Is
Yeah,
that what you said?
tamjanika, yeah, tamjanika, yeah.
That sounds like something I would love.
Yeah, it's really cool. As a matter of fact, like yesterday, from a friend of mine who works in a wine shop, I got some wine that's called ballerina. It's the same word in Serbia, and essentially it's like a mixture of tamjanika and tramina. We call it traminac, which essentially like it gives it more. It keeps like that zesty tamjanika vibe and gives it some more sweetness. And it's really like the color is pale. You can see it right through it. It's like a lemonade without too much lemon, and it was off the hook. Like my mom was blown away. I think my mom found her favorite wine.
That's great. That's good for a son to know mom's favorite wine, right? Comes up all the time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because she's totally into white wines. She doesn't have anything against reds, but she really loves whites, and I think she's the guilty person why I like whites as well. And I would say like if you ever swing by Europe or anything, like you gotta come here and try it out. There's like a couple of I think it's really like a summer vibes for me.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, definitely something that I'll keep on the list then.
Cool.
Yeah, Europe is just full of so much great wine, and I think that I mean I've found myself partial to wines of Burgundy in France, but I think that's like a lot of people in the world.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
like Hall of Fame wine.
Yeah, yeah. But I think Austria has some really cool wines too. I love the spectrum that I see actually from Gruner Veltliner. I find like the riper ones, the more austere versions, they're all just so delicious and totally my style. And same with like Blaufränkisch is a little bit more fun for me too. And yeah, there's just so much going on. I think in every country, it's funny. Whenever I'm studying, I'm like, oh, I need to go to Italy, or oh,
Yeah, yeah, I
I
know
need
the
to go to
feeling. Yeah.
Serbia. Like I need to go to Bordeaux. I need to go. All of these different places come up, and I don't know. I think I just got a long list of different wines that I like that I need to visit, and it changes all the time depending on what I'm studying at the moment.
Exactly. I know. I exactly know the feeling. Like I'm struggling whether to go to Spain or Italy, and it's not a struggle like combining it with my work. That's fine now. It's the problem is selecting a country, picking out the region, and there's somebody like you try a Portuguese wine and says, hell, there's Portugal too,
Oh
and
my gosh,
yeah.
yeah. Portugal is one I'm just dying to go to. Although I know I still probably by the time I come back won't be able to pronounce like 80% of the grape varietals,
Yeah.
but I think like there's just so much going on and it's really exciting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know the feeling. Like, but I'm thinking like it's still a question, Spain or Italy. We have a lot of like both Italian and Spanish wines here, but I'm like more intrigued to just go and visit a couple of places. It doesn't have to be any plan tour. I'm just like gonna come in a place and say what's like the local wine you guys love here, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
sit and have some good time.
Yeah, totally. Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, 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 cool. If we see each other in Portugal, the first couple of wines are on me.
Deal, deal. The next couple of wines will be on me then. Only me
Excellent, excellent. That sounds like a win-win.
then.
Cool. Switching the topic to your other passion, which is being a creative, being a designer. So, give us a little bit more background there. Like, how did your creative career started, and what you've been up to recently?
Well, first of all, I like that you use the word creative because I think that that's the most accurate. I say graphic artist because I think that that's a term that people understand, but I actually do a lot of wine writing as well, and infographics, and design some signage, that kind of thing. And I'm an illustrator, so I think that saying creative is the best because that's those are the jobs I want to take. Is when I have a chance to be creative and marry that up with my passion for wine. So, as I had mentioned a little bit earlier, I actually went to school for interior design, and creativity has been part of my life since I was very young. So, I have had some training, and it was just really cool when I saw some opportunities to be able to share that. Now, I think that when I was first getting some jobs and new clients and things like that before I actually decided, okay, I'm going to do this for sure, was just posting up some really like sketchy little drawings on my Instagram account, and ended up catching the eye of someone that was looking for someone to do States of Australia called the Wine Gallery, and that just continued to grow and develop. And then now currently I still do international work for wineries. There's one winery in France, and then there's also a wine bar in Napa called Compline, which is awesome. So I did a big chalk mural there and helped design their signage and different graphics on an ongoing basis now. And then there's also a wine curriculum called Tableside, and that's going to be launching just in a few months here pretty soon.
Cool.
And I'm doing all of the academic illustrations. So we're talking wine maps, flavor profiles of different grapes, and winemaking process, that kind of thing. So there's just been a lot of cool avenues to do, and then a few different custom pieces here and there, and logos for different beverage products, and a few menu designs, that kind of thing. But I think for my brain, it's quite dynamic, and being able to get to know the industry from a few different levels has really enhanced my career and my satisfaction in my career.
Cool. And like being a creative as well, at least, like I don't like to speak about myself, but essentially like I do more like stuff with content in terms of textual content and video content. And like, do you have that thing where you simply like whenever you're somewhere you take inspiration from you see an Instagram story from someone, and then you see like a format and like, cool, I mean, I gotta try to do that because it's essentially like a cool trick. Like, is there any designer or a campaign or a little detail you admire which you like for some reason? Like for me, I don't know if you ever saw a campaign from Netflix with the TV series Narcos. They did some Coconomics campaign where they essentially like compared Escobar's narco cartel with Google, I don't know, like Facebook, and I think DHL like compared it with their number of employees. It was an awesome visual campaign which gave me like a huge inspiration for a project I'm been on. I didn't exactly steal the idea. I was like, it gave me inspiration. Because essentially for creatives it's sometimes hard to find inspiration. It doesn't have a switch. Like where do you drive inspiration from? Is there someone you admire or follow?
Well, I mean, you're so right. Inspiration is everything, and I think that I can't remember what the quote is. Hopefully, I don't butcher it too bad. But any good design is a copy of someone else's work, but just from inspiration. So I think that it's really important to have those, and I just try to keep my eyes open and ears clear as well to different ideas and different ways of communicating things, because I think that the wine world it's really tough. Wine is something that you feel and experience. So how do you make that visual without just taking a photo of a glass of wine all the time? They look the same, but they're different experiences. So I'm finding it interesting, and if you have other campaigns and things like that too, that can really render something that is not visual into something visual, that is really powerful. So that's more what I'm looking for. I don't have a specific campaign that I like, but I really enjoy the account Design Boom on Instagram. I just find that they have such a vast array of artists that contribute to it, and they just give some really cool ways of looking at the world, or scale is the big one that I see. And I don't know, I just find those to be really inspiring, but staying visually stimulated that way is really important. And I actually asked quite a few of my other creative friends, like, oh, where did you see this, and da-da-da-da-da, and then I'm just like, what I follow on Instagram is more design than actual wine, because it's more visual.
Yeah, I figured, yeah.
And there's a lot of boring wine Instagram accounts, right? Because it's not a visual sport.
Yeah.
It's a visual one. So being able to find a way to make it visual and communicate something so complex into something simple is its own art, and something that I'm really trying to achieve and master one day. But it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, my whole life I've been doing with designers, because that's really the only thing I'm not that comfortable with. I mean, I can find my way in Photoshop, but it's still like, I work with so many designers, and like in this creative world, I have this like, it's not exactly fear, but it's always like a chip on my shoulder, being afraid of doing the same old thing, just like recycling old design work. And like, what's your mindset on like, how do we like continue doing some new stuff without overthinking it, because you still want to be fast. You don't want to perfect things because you can never create anything that's perfect. There's always something better you can do. But how do you stay? What's your mindset on it?
I find that my best ideas have always come through inspiration internally. So sometimes I'll literally just have a flash in a dream of some idea, and I've just learned I need to respect that. Wake up, write it down, start it, do something. And those have always been my most powerful projects, or most powerful concepts that have taken me to the next level in any design project. I think that when you do intellectualize creativity, it just gets disjointed, just like you're saying. So it's just important to have the space for your mind to think creatively. And I think that the more stressed out you are, the less time you have for creative thought. If you don't have a whole lot to do and you're feeling relaxed, the creative thoughts will just plunder your mind, right? So it's really important to be able to set time for that. And I find it's kind of an interesting balance, right? But I schedule my time off, which sounds weird in a sense that I'll literally schedule 2 hours creative time, which means, Alex, turn off your brain, let yourself feel, be creative. There's no expectation for production. There's like nothing. And then that's when I can let my mind go. But like I said, I need to be able to schedule that so that I know that there's an end and I don't panic if I'm not producing anything, because there's no expectation for it. But it does allow my mind the time to relax and to drift and to hopefully come up with something. And if it doesn't, it's okay. I know that's all part of the process.
Yeah, I got you there. And my background is more in, I would say, like technical marketing combined with creative stuff. And a lot of times, like designer teams and the other creatives are like having a conversation, and I'm like always like, every designer needs to like say about, okay, there's my portfolio, there's my Behance profile, but like fuck that. I need a more practical piece of my brain that's gonna be like, okay, let's just test this out. Put it out, get some feedback. Don't worry about if this color is red or blue. Like let's like test it out, see what kind of feedback we get, and then you double down on what works. And I think that every designer, especially the more creative you are, the more that practical mindset is something you need, because you can get lost without it and kind of like do circles and circles and like literally kill all your creative stuff at the end.
Well, and that's the difference between an artist and a designer, right? Is like the artist can be a little bit more, oh man, and I hope I don't offend anything or say this wrong, but an artist can be a bit more creative and loose, whereas a designer has like function that they need to be able to provide, and there are deadlines different as well. So if you're not able to marry the form and the function and on a proper deadline, then you're not doing design work that is design. It can look amazing, but if it doesn't work, it's not well designed, and it might be beautiful art, but it's not designed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. For me, the way I understood it's like you gotta make some mistakes at the end, because if you don't make mistakes, you're never gonna get better. And it's still like when we're shooting a video for a couple of projects, like it's always important to keep that in mind. Like let's not trouble ourselves with whether we are not in the same office or not, because at the end of the day, what matters most is like, are you bringing any value with that piece of content that's gonna get out? And I think people, especially nowadays with all these millennials and all the talk we had about how how millennials consume wines, they really care about, they don't care about whether a video is professional or not, or whether the image is perfect or not. They care about whether it's cool and whether it gives something of use to somebody, to a person who's watching. And at the end of the day, that's never perfect. No wine is perfect. So, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I 100% agree. We want authenticity. We don't want a bias. Like, it can be the most beautiful image ever, but if it's from a bias standpoint, then the millennial's just going to look right over it. Be like, that's so-and-so promoting this, and doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care what they have to say, you know? So that's 100% true, and it's not about perfecting, it's about making it relatable.
Absolutely. And speaking like of this world of digital marketing and creative stuff, like what are you like obsessed about these days?
That's a tough one. It's something that I'm trying to nail down in my own personal vision, actually. But I find Instagram stories just seem to be the most profound. And how do you make yours stand out from somebody else's? And what is it that you actually want to communicate? And just being able to confirm those things and make it more direct is fascinating to me, because there's some people that you really get to know them over Instagram stories. I mean, before we had the stories, there just was not an opportunity to get to know someone's personality through these just feed images, and now there's a platform to get to know a personality. So I think that there's a lot of power there, and that's going to be the real marketing push for the next while, for sure.
It's like the perfect a sequel to the previous question, because with Instagram posts, the way I see it, people were perfecting it, like whether it's perfect or not, because it's gonna stay on your feed forever. And Instagram stories is more spontaneous, like it's your moment in a day. Yeah, and people are more comfortable with sharing it because it eventually evaporates.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's exactly it. And I think that the fact that it lasts for 24 hours provides the urgency for people to look at things too, right? I'm not going to see this tomorrow, so I might as well look at it now. It's a really interesting platform to get to know more.
Exactly. Yeah, me and the designer of mine, we work in the same team, and we were shooting some images of our employees, and people were obsessed whether they are on the left or on the right, or is my hair perfect, or let's do another one where I'm like not leaning towards left but leaning towards right. And it's weird. And when you see these same people, and not everyone is comfortable posting out stories, but some of them is totally more spontaneous and 100% more lovable when they are themselves without any like overthinking part.
We love people with flaws, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're not drawn to the perfect. Like, we like people like, there's actually some interesting studies done, and they did this interview with some business dude, and they did one shot where he actually spilled his coffee all over him by accident, and then they redid the interview, and this time he didn't spill the coffee, and everybody loved the one where he spilled the coffee.
Exactly.
They loved it because it's like, oh my god, I spilled my coffee too. Like,
yeah.
This guy's relatable, and just the power in that is something that we all need to take a piece of humble pie, right, and realize that actually that humility grants power. So
absolutely, cool. absolutely. I'm 100% with you there as well. Like, at the end of the day, it's all that comes down to it, right? So cool. Final thought, like anything you want to share or ask people or ask me or suggest something, like what's on your mind that you wanna as the final thought of the episode number 2?
I say seek out Canadian wines as much as you can. It's growing. It's something to get to know. Know that we have way more than just ice wine, and we don't just live with polar bears up here in the north. It's a really, really exciting place to be. And I think that we have such a cool position to be in as millennial wine drinkers, because we are all so connected across all of these different countries. So let's just keep sharing with each other and talking with each other and getting to know where each other are from. And it just in turn means you've got some great houses to stay when you travel and enjoy wine and have good conversation.
Cool. Let me add one part. Like, I have a cousin who lives in Canada that's planning. I think he's planning to visit me in Serbia. Like, I would say autumn, maybe summer, late summer. So, Andre, if you're coming to Belgrade, please buy me some Canadian wine. Yeah. I'm not sure how much I can find in Serbia, but I'm gonna try. So please bring a bottle. I would appreciate it. If you're listening, of course. So.
What was his name? Andreas?
Andre, yeah.
Andre, yeah. Let me know if you want any help picking a bottle. I'd love to send one with you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Alex. It was awesome talking to you. I think you have an awesome personality, and I think you're gonna kill it in with this mindset. It was a cool episode.
Well, Vikashan, I really appreciate the time, and it's really nice to have the chance to speak with you and hear your perspective on things, and it sounds like we'll probably chat lots more in the future.